Man, these games were insane. Let's get straight into this Week 15 recap. This game was not one of them. Contrary to what the score says, this was no contest from the very beginning. The 49ers flat out embarrassed a team that was in the playoffs just a week ago and made them look like they didn't belong in the same stratosphere as the Niners. Brock Purdy now joins Aaron Rodgers alone in some insane all-time NFL records, and the Seahawks are looking real grim into making the playoffs. Meanwhile, I would be absolutely shocked if the Niners didn't play the Eagles in the NFC Championship game. The Vikings did it again. Although this game now holds the record as the largest NFL comeback of all time, it really didn't feel like it was just an insurmountable lead that the Vikings weren't able to recover from. The Colts admittedly were getting really lucky in the first half, getting touchdowns that don't happen in most games. Anyway, they were still able to get a 33-0 lead. Now all you gotta do is rely on the Iceman to take you home.
Perfectly delivered, hand it to him. He's got Jefferson, open, touchdown, inside the 5. It's good. It's good.
How? Do you understand how many events had to go perfectly wrong for the Colts in order to lose this game? Kirk Cousins wasn't even perfect in the second half at all. In fact, he was far from it, but they were still able to come back and win the game in overtime. But leave it to some ESPN analyst to throw a game, because he did an all-time great job of that. So, because the NFL can't give us 3 good games on one given day, Ravens-Browns. Yay. We got a good battle between one quarterback who shouldn't be on the field because he sucks and the other who shouldn't be on the field because he should be in prison. And it was really boring. That's it. Watching this game basically felt like switching to a WNBA game straight after watching Game 7 of the 2016 finals. Real fun time overall. But luckily, we got a good AFC duel between 2 potential real contenders. The Dolphins came in with a very clear game plan to run the ball with Raheem Mostert and then use that to open up the passing game. And for the rest of the game, both of these teams just traded shots at each other's domes until the Bills got a slight advantage. And it was this pass interference penalty that basically sealed the game for the Bills. But the Bills have just survived 2 quiet games in a row from Diggs, and if they can keep doing that, then man, they can go places.
Yep.
Although the game was pretty close during the entirety of it, it kinda just felt like a lion toying with its dead prey. Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown were doing whatever they wanted, and the Eagles decided to just completely abandon the run game with Miles Sanders and go to the air. And with 2 active receivers on the Bears roster, it wasn't too hard to stifle their offense outside of runs from Justin Fields, and in the end they grinded out a win. Jalen Hurts continues to push his MVP campaign with 3 rushing touchdowns. I personally don't think he is the MVP, but man, he is making a great case for it. Why didn't we get Flacco? Why? The Lions, arguably the worst overall defense in the NFL, looked like the goddamn 2000 Ravens versus Zach Wilson. Besides some bombs to Garrett Wilson and a fluky play to CJ Uzomah, they couldn't get anything going on offense. And am I supposed to be surprised? It's Zach Wilson. And Jared Goff, a guy who I have negative expectations for, was still underwhelming, and they were able to pull out a win regardless. This loss hurts, Jets, but just stay in the Mike White waiting room, I guess. Who the hell watched this game? Mitchell Trubisky versus Sam Darnold, a tale of 2 fallen draft picks, and nothing happened in this game entertaining whatsoever. I don't know, young boy caught a cool catch. DJ Moore got a touchdown. I don't know. If you like underwhelming teams, then man, this was the game for you. But besides that, nothing. There's nothing here.
Chiefs are Super Bowl champions here in Miami.
Perfect. This was the perfect outcome for you, Houston. If the Texans could choose to battle every single team to the last second without actually winning the game, then they would do that for every matchup. You're building your culture and your chemistry between your players while at the same time losing games to keep your draft position. But I honestly don't think this is more of the Texans being good and rather some glaring holes in the Chiefs. I'm still a firm believer that not having Tyreek Hill is going to cost them in the playoffs, and as this game showed, maybe the defense isn't as star-filled as we thought it was. But thanks to Jerick McKinnon resetting his age clock by 10 years, they were able to squeak out a win against the Texans. You overcame the odds, Kansas City. Great job. Huge win for your future. You know, for all things considered, he actually played a pretty good game. Now, obviously, he's still raw and has a lot of training to do, but he showed a lot of potential and promise in this game. He had multiple plays where he would escape the pocket and dump it off to a receiver, and honestly just looked like he knew what was going on in the NFL field. And that's not what you can say about most young quarterbacks out there, so I think they might actually have a great quarterback on their hands. So yeah, if Andy Dalton can keep developing, Saints, you might have a franchise quarterback. Why am I not surprised? For almost the entire time, the Cowboys were in control of just about everything. Although they weren't able to get the run going to as dominant of a fashion as usual, they still were able to use the air to absolutely dismantle the Jaguars' subpar defense. Until, in what felt like a few seconds, Trevor Lawrence rallied the Jaguars back with a flurry of touchdowns and other plays by the defense, which allowed them to bring the game within one possession. And after, once again, the Cowboys' offense went stale, Trevor Lawrence took advantage and went straight for the throat. They got a field goal which sent it into overtime, and the defense did the rest, converting a game-winning touchdown on an admittedly fluky bounce play which resulted in a touchdown. Trevor Lawrence will be a special quarterback in this league. You got a franchise quarterback, Jaguars, and confirmation on that is all you can ask for this year.
Broncos country.
Huh? Another Broncos game? Oh boy. Everyone's in for a treat today as we got to see Trace McSorley versus Brett Rip... No, I'm not doing this. It's not... No. The two best players on the field for this game looked like Latavius Murray and J.J. Watt. I mean, Marlon Mack got a touchdown. I didn't even know he was still in the league. 10 out of 10 game. I mean, the replay value is just phenomenal. I can't wait to watch this game on an NFL throwback video in about a year.
It's picked off.
This game felt like a really bad movie. The script was so generic and boring that it almost made me fall asleep. This game took the same script as always with every Raiders game, as they took an early lead and looked like clearly the better team until, oh, shocker, they blew it all in one quarter. But wait, the Raiders have a little bit of life in them, as they were able to drive down the field, then possibly scored a touchdown. So the Patriots got the ball back and just didn't have enough timeouts to make a real drive, so they were just going to take it to overtime. It's the only logical thing to do, right, Bill? Right?
Inside the 30, flips it back. Stanford band nowhere in sight. Uh-oh, it's picked off. Uh-oh, oh no. Unbelievable. Oh wow.
One of the most confusing games I've ever seen in my entire life. It was unwatchable for 3 hours and 29 minutes, but the last minute was cool. You know, for what it's worth, I feel like things went pretty well for the Titans. They were able to limit Justin Herbert pretty well, and the same with Eckler and Mike Williams for almost the entire game. But you can only contain Herbert for so long. As although his counting stats weren't incredible, he did his job and led the Chargers to a late touchdown. But to the Titans' credit, they bounced back and got a touchdown of their own, and it looked like we were going to overtime. But Mike Williams said otherwise. The 50-50 specialist, who had done very little for most of the game, got the Chargers into field goal range where Dicker the kicker did the rest. I still prefer the Money Badger, but you know, Dicker's cool too. For one half, the Bucs had people fooled into thinking they were competent. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are not good at football. 4 second-half turnovers and a full collapse to a team that is superior to them. You cannot stop Joe Burrow. You can only hope to contain him. I'm telling you, this Bengals team is white hot right now, and if they get a chip on their shoulder in the playoffs, you do not want to come anywhere near them. Well, primetime games like this between division rivals are always going to be intense and heated, and they get even more fun when the playoffs are on the line. Super important game for both teams, and it was scrappy the whole way, but the one player who just completely took over was the Giants' first-round pick, Kayvon Thibodeau. The man was everywhere, getting pressure on just about every play and even scoring a touchdown on a fumble that he forced. It was now up to Taylor Heinicke to hopefully get a touchdown and a 2-point conversion to send the game into overtime. And they moved down the field with ease, getting into the end zone, and how the hell was this not called? I understand the ref doesn't want to be the guy who makes a game-swaying call, but like, you also don't want to be the guy who misses the game-swaying call. Tough luck, Washington, but just keep winning games and you should be in the playoffs. Another game where hopefully nobody watched. A cold one in Lambeau where we kind of just saw the run game dominate for most of the time and Aaron Rodgers not make too many flashy plays. Baker Mayfield still isn't a good quarterback whatsoever and he doesn't know a single thing in the playbook. A tank bowl. It was a tank bowl. Anyways, if you like this video, then subscribe because I got a lot of videos on the channel just like this one, and if you like this video, then watch this video right here on the worst players in NFL history. It's pretty good, trust me. Anyways, until next time.